2-year-old Gail is in the choir.
She did appear to be the perfect mother. I mean, she sang in the church. She took care of 2 sons.
Her 37-year-old husband, Ron, is a respected member of the congregation.
Ron Owens was very active in church as well. He would stay after church on Sunday to coach basketball.
I have never known a woman. Their 2 sons love helping Dad.
Her and her husband had essentially the image of a perfect relationship.
Gail looked like a devoted wife and mother. Took care of her family, involved in church. When a woman kills somebody, the Christian mom is often on missions in some of Memphis's poorest and toughest areas.
A suburban mother driving around some of the meanest streets of Memphis. She stuck out like a sore thumb.
No, but poor area.
It's predominantly black.
Yeah,
and she's a white lady in a fancy car.
Gail is handing out cash to the poor.
She was offering thousands of dollars.
Here. Her nickname in the neighborhood became Big Money, but her generosity is causing her family to go broke.
Gail started coming back unpaid.
Gail wasn't paying the bills, she was hiding them. Debts were piling up.
Finish for the day? When you have a lovely evening.
Ron has no idea what his wife's up to. It's not the first time she's kept a secret. For a number of years, Gail embezzled money from her employers. And not just the petty cash.
She embezzled somewhere around $60,000.
Gail's excuse for this was saying that it would ease financial pressure on her husband. In fact, it made financial pressure exist where it hadn't been there before. Ron only finds out about his wife's thieving ways.
It'll be all right, Ron.
When Gail's arrested.
And then
She's convicted of 35 counts of forgery.
Yes.
Not only
I'm
does
gonna
she have to pay
introduce
back the
you.
money,
Because I think you'd be great. You and I watching this and we're like giving out thoughts and etc. on it.
Ron
Wow.
mortgages the house and uses their savings to pay Gail's debt to society.
Mommy!
After serving 60 days in jail, Gail comes home to a frosty welcome. You going out?
Come on now, I'll tell you all about it.
There are questions about how much friction the embezzlement case and other debts had on their relationship.
Publicly, Ron stands by his wife. Privately, the hospital nursing administrator is mortified by Gail's crimes.
That ended up being a serious problem for the couple. He was angry. He was ashamed.
Close the door.
But Ron has a shameful secret of his own.
I guess it. That's why she killed us behind, okay? Okay. And there's a reason.
Despite Howard's appearance as being a very happy couple, there were secrets. Her husband had been having an affair, we're told, with somebody at work.
The affair isn't as secret as Ron thinks. Gail is on to them. She follows her husband to work.
Oh.
Gail realized that her husband was having an affair.
I've been there. I've done that.
She actually
She followed us. Wait. My first husband.
Furious at his betrayal, Gail
I was
won't turn
widowed,
the other
okay?
cheek.
Only had
She
2.
went to confront him, She's
Yeah.
alleged that he slapped her. They actually may have been headed to divorce because of this and other issues.
Gail fears divorce will cost her more than a husband. She'll
We're
lose
together
her
for
meal
13
ticket.
years.
And because she's a jailbird,
Baby mama one.
custody of her 2 sons. I would say things were about as
Oh, so you was
bad
married
as they
twice.
could get in the Owens household, but I'd be wrong. They were about to
Oh,
get
the second one you wasn't married to, but you had a baby.
On the surface, Ron and Gail Owens
Okay. Wow.
appear to
How could
have
he
the
just get
perfect
married?
relationship.
Judge
Living
Judy.
in the middle class city
I add that
of
to my
Bartlett,
mix.
Memphis,
Spice things up.
until tragedy.
And she acts the same.
Ron is the
Been
victim
together
of
for
a
so
brutal
long. Why
home
did you get
invasion.
married?
Robbery
Just
seemed like it was
needing
a
to
plausible
know.
motive. And,
Why
he
not?
didn't seem to have any enemies at the time. He was well liked in the community and active, so there's no reason to think that anybody would have wanted him to be murdered.
The
So
attack
you
stuns the community.
loved her, but not
Violent
that much.
crime is
Because
rare
it's
here.
married.
This murder happened. It was the second murder that
Okay.
they know of being recorded.
Yeah.
Nothing is stolen, and Ron has no known
I mean,
enemies.
I wouldn't get
It's a
married
baffling
again.
case.
Yeah. But I do.
Police get a call
I do.
from
You
the
know,
other side of town.
God bless
A few days later,
getting married.
George James
Okay. You know, but it's something I
said
couldn't
Gail
do
Owens
again.
had offered him money
You
to
know.
kill her husband.
George
Just
tells
thank
them a
you.
crazy tale of a white woman
You know.
armed with cash, trolling the mean streets of Memphis, looking for a
Okay, so
hitman.
She
you
drove around for months, in fact, approaching groups of young men.
go wrong.
Gail
Well, like
thinks
Judge
the right
Judy
cash
says,
can
I love
turn
that
any
girl.
stranger
Okay, she says, well, there's no
into a
court
killer.
for almost married.
How much?
Okay?
5,000.
I mean, it's married or not. Because
There were
when you
several
divvy
that
up
ostensibly
all
took
the
her
stuff,
on the offer, but
when
essentially
you go into the marriage with
she was offering thousands
yours,
of dollars, and there were
but
people
what
who said
you
sure.
make
And
together
then she never heard
is
from them again.
supposed to be when you're
She was a
just
lax. They
cohabitating
took her money
with
though.
each other.
Gail is
When there's
conned out of
separation of
thousands of
stuff,
dollars,
the
but
court
she doesn't give up.
can't say, well,
She
okay.
ran out of money, but that
Because-
didn't deter her. She was
but
bound and determined to
no,
find someone
I
to
could not.
kill her husband, and eventually she did.
No.
42-year-old
My thing is
Sydney Porterfield
honest.
is willing to murder now
I mean,
and be paid later.
okay.
When his life insurance comes through.
How much? He had quite a background in criminal history, assaults and other things.
Ron's death will make Gail a wealthy
When I
widow.
say trust,
Gail
honestly,
stood to
I'm not
gain
talking about cheating.
$150,000 from Ron Owens'
You only hear
life insurance policy.
That's how I look at it. I'm talking about when it comes to
February 17,
certain things,
1985.
us with
Like
financial,
every other Sunday,
I find
the
certain
Owens
things out.
family go to
You're
church.
not doing the right thing.
No, not tonight.
And I had
After
given
the service, Gail changes their routine.
Come on, Gail.
and he still refused
The two boys always liked to watch Ron play basketball. And that particular night, she would
to.
let
No,
them watch
I don't know which.
and let them go with her to her sister's house.
Tonight, she wants Ron home alone to greet her paid
And I
guest.
never asked for a penny.
So that night, Ron parked his car in the driveway,
That was my stuff. You
walked
know,
into the
I
house,
paid for the child's clothes, my clothes, his clothes. You know, I paid for the
and
house.
was attacked from behind by Sydney Porterfield.
To a whole lot of
Ron is
furniture.
ambushed with a tire iron.
Furniture, dining,
It was probably 26 plus
and
blows
that's
to the back of his head.
and it was supposed to stay with me.
it was hit so hard in the trigger that you would have taken a small hand axe and hit somebody in the back of the head. That's how split open it was.
Incredibly, Ron clings to life.
It's a long story.
When Gail and her 2 sons return home later that night, she lets the 11-year-old lead the way.
She had her son go into the house. Of course, he found his dad in the floor. That's when the police were called.
Ron actually lingered for a few hours before actually dying at the hospital.
I'm not sure which is worse, having her husband killed or allowing one of her children to find his father's body.
After months of planning, Gail is finally a wealthy widow. But her celebrations are short-lived. One of her would-be hitmen is telling all.
When he told us that she had tried to hire him, we had him call her, and he told her that she didn't give him some money if he was going to the marketplace.
The restaurant.
George plays the lead in Sting.
I don't need to know anything else.
When Gail gives him money for his silence, every word is caught on tape.
Why'd you kill your husband? But you had a bad 13 years, and
The game's up, and she knows it.
Well, she confessed to having paying to have him murdered. There was no emotion during her statement, from what I understand.
This is none of your business. Gail claims the day Ron slapped her
Ooh.
sealed his fate.
Ooh. Oh, I know why she killed him.
She said that that incident led her to take to the streets of Memphis and look for someone to kill her husband.
Gail gives up Sidney Porterfield. He's convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. In 1986, Gail Owens is convicted of accessory to first-degree murder. She, too, is sentenced to death.
Gail underestimated everyone.
5,000.
I think she really believed that anyone in the Black community would be happy to take her money and kill and keep their mouth shut. And she was completely wrong.
After 26 years on death row, Gail's sentence is commuted to life. In 2011, she is granted parole. To the surprise of many, waiting outside the prison is her son.
At some point, Stephen decided that he couldn't hold on to this anger anymore and that he needed to forgive her. To this day, they're nearly inseparable.
I don't think society needs to be very nervous about Gail Owens living among them. Most people serving time in prison for murder had one specific person they wanted to kill, and they did it for what they believed was one important reason. Gail falls into that category.
I know why she killed him. He slapped her. He slapped her. They were talking, there was something arguing, and he went wham. And she said, Lay said, when he slapped her, that sealed his fate.
Others are
He
unthinkable.
slapped her.
I wished he'd left and taken the kids at that point.
Calexico takes its name from its location, the border of California and Mexico.
It's a rural area, extremely impoverished. The population is predominantly Hispanic.
In 2006, new residents come to town. The Cano family.
Right back my turn.
37-year-old Kim convinces her husband Frank to leave Los Angeles for the desert life. They move to the upscale side of town.
They purchased a 5-bedroom home in a brand new subdivision.
The couple is raising 4 children. They're 3, and Kim's teenage daughter from her first marriage.
Frank basically was just best husband. He would just go to work, come home, dedicate his time to his kids and his wife.
But people around him started seeing these cracks.
I've got chores for you.
Yes, boss. Everybody had to do what she said. They better hop to it.
Frank lets her run the house. But one thing he won't give up is the job he loves as a California Highway Patrol officer, even though that means a 400-mile round trip to and from work.
Kim insisted that they move 3 hours away from where Frank
Oh, she got it there.
I don't know what she was thinking.
It's a
Okay.
sacrifice Frank makes to keep Kim happy.
It made it really rough on Frank. Now he had to work a night shift and swing shift, and it really messed up his sleeping habits.
Frank gave her everything within his power to give a home, beautiful children, amenities, love, affection.
Yeah. You want one?
Is that perfume?
But Kim suspects his true affection
Lulu.
lies elsewhere.
He
Stop.
suspected Francisco was possibly having an extramarital affair
Really?
in Los Angeles.
Oh, I just started taking
Frank
that because
denies cheating,
I have
but
to
admits he has a
go
close
for
female friend.
MRI,
She accused
and that
Frank of
can
having an
take
affair.
an whole year
She said,
also.
no, she's just a friend. And Frank was a very friendly guy. But from that point on, Kim
So
was
all the
very suspicious of
ibuprofen I can get a hold of.
There is another
And when I
problem
was,
in the home.
I think when I had the
spending.
first surgery, they gave me the ibuprofen, but I can't take that really. But right now, you know, past few months, yeah, huh?
Good salary.
No, they don't.
Being a trooper was never enough for Kim. But I think if Frank had made $1 million a minute, it wouldn't have
Lulu.
been enough for Kim.
Or go over there. Go over there. What? Come on.
During the course of those arguments, their children actually saw
Yes, yeah.
lash out.
I don't want her to bother you.
Frank keeps the abuse a secret.
No,
Kim doesn't.
I just don't want her to bother you.
Kim said that Frank was
Yeah.
verbally
Yeah. I'm good. Yeah. She's like,
Everyone that knew Frank described him as a great guy. Kim described him as an alcoholic and abusive. I think Kim saw every man that way.
Calexico, Southern California.
Calexico? California,
Highway
Mexico.
Patrol Officer
Calexico.
Frank Kano is always exhausted from long shifts,
I never heard of that either.
and arguments at home. Now his wife Kim
Okay.
is out to smear him.
I need you to come over.
She calls his work supervisor.
Frank was cleaning the bedroom. She said he was doing a sloppy job. She said, Frank's been drinking, he's been yelling at me, he's made a mess here.
I don't know what Kim was thinking, because if a law enforcement officer is convicted of domestic abuse, they cannot carry a gun. If they cannot carry a gun, they cannot be a law enforcement officer. I don't know what Kim thought was going to happen to that paycheck.
See, he's a mess.
You here to help?
When Kim left, the supervisor said, Frank, maybe you better get marriage counseling.
They never get a chance to visit a counselor.
What?
Days later, on December 4th, 2006,
Oh, she was a nut job.
Frank is dead.
She was a
Victim
nut
of a
job.
terrible accident. Kim says it should be her lying dead. She was about to end her own life when Frank tried to stop her.
Yeah, right.
Now, Kim says she's so fed up, she's had it. She's going to get that gun and commit suicide. Frank comes into the room.
Stay away from me!
Kim says she's frightened. She says he's angry. She aims the gun up at the ceiling, she says, closes her eyes and takes a shot.
Bullseye. Oh, yeah.
It hits Frank in the eye and kills him.
I don't think she tried to cover it
Detective
up.
Julio
She
Diaz
just had
starts
a good
investigating
excuse.
Kim's story and finds the couple has been constantly fighting, or at least one of them has.
Kim could fly off the handle at times. She had kind of a short fuse.
Stay away from me!
At family get-togethers, Kim would launch into uncontrollable attacks against Francisco.
Stay away from me!
She threatened to stab him with a kitchen knife in the middle of an argument in front of their older daughter.
I want to know who she is. There's no one there, and you tell me who she is.
Their children tell a tale of spousal abuse.
Oh, man, somebody told me about that and just...
She remembers Kim telling Frank, well, how about if I just shoot you? And he said, well, go ahead and do it and see what happens.
Detective Diaz starts to realize the Kano's lives aren't exactly how Kim portrays them. And then there's her story of the shooting.
Stay away from me!
She was just trying to scare him, so she shot him in the air.
She did it on purpose. Okay, that was no mistake.
Forensic ballistics reveal the shot that kills Frank is carefully aimed at one place.
Her gun was at basically her face level. And, I mean, it was pointing right at his face. There's no way that it was pointing at the ceiling because it wouldn't have hit his face.
Kim Kano goes to trial for murder, and prosecutors make their case.
She's a good shot. She's a good shooter.
The day Frank is killed, he's writing a love letter to his wife.
What?
Frank,
She called out to him.
I need you up here.
He abruptly got up from the kitchen table and went upstairs to see what the problem was.
The problem is an angry wife with a loaded gun.
Frank must have been astonished to see his own gun pointed at him like that. It must have been just horrifying.
Kim claims the gun goes off by accident.
She said It felt like a piece of paper when she pulled the trigger. But a ballistics expert testified that it actually took 12 pounds of force to pull the trigger.
Did your father yell at your mother?
Adding to the weight of evidence, her children testify against her.
Did you see him like it, Dave?
Well, the mother, the daughter came in. Remember,
They'd
she
lost
was
their
out.
father.
She
They
came
knew
in
they
here,
testified
and
against
said,
their mother
"Here,
and she was found guilty. She'd be
I
going
want
to prison. They'd be losing her too.
Yes. Go ahead. See what happened.
They must have believed she belonged in prison. They also might have been very afraid of her. If she can kill Dad, she can kill me.
In 2010, Kim Kano is found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years to life.
Kim never confessed she had to be in the right. She could not admit that she'd done wrong.
Everyone loved Frank Kano, except his wife. But why did she kill him?
Greed. She was the beneficiary of a life insurance policy that paid the balance of their debt in the event of his accidental death. And frustration, because he wasn't able to provide her with the lifestyle that she felt he should be able to provide her with.
Kim's narcissistic ways steal a good father from his children.
Frankie said, I will never be able to see another football game with your father again. That really bothered me. That really hurt.
I think Frank felt that being a cop was enough to keep her from seriously hurting him. Sadly, he was wrong.
In the silence of darkness, around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, Taishi got up. A young woman's life changes forever.
She was in the bathroom.
She didn't see or hear anybody. She just heard a gunshot.
A tragic mystery to a life that started with such promise.
It's just abhorrent.
Fort Hood, Texas, one of the biggest military bases in the U.S. Its support town, Killeen, teams with young soldiers from all over the country, including 20-year-old Gary Prokop.
Gary was born in Germany and grew up in San Diego, California. He joined the military after he finished high school, and he had never been to Killeen, Texas until he was stationed there at Fort Hood.
Here in 1996, opposites attract. Carefree local party girl, 17-year-old Taishi Grant, catches the soldier's eye.
She didn't really have a whole lot of ambition, but Taishi was a lot of fun to be around.
Gary came from a good family, graduated high school, and he didn't do drugs.
But what do I know?
Opposite
You
of
got all these
Taishi
things
and her
today.
friends.
But Gary can't resist Taishi's charms.
Gary was new here, he didn't know
What?
anyone. He
You
was
mean
probably
being
a bit
American
lonely,
in
being away from his family.
What? Oh, in India.
Romance blossoms. In a whirlwind, there are wedding bells.
It's not unusual in Killeen to go ahead and make it official and be married, and then they can get the benefits from the military.
Military accommodation, medical insurance, a comfortable life. By marrying Gary, Taishi's fortunes instantly change.
She must have seen Gary as someone who could give her something that she didn't have.
And nothing cements a new marriage like a baby,
Was mad. At first, the relationship seemed to be going well. Gary might have thought there were no problems initially, but it was a little different for Tashi.
Taishi hasn't really thought this through.
Put up
Life as a
when you're
stay-at-home military
just
mom
existing in this world.
is not Taishi's idea of a good time.
She's just the kind of person that didn't care to be a responsible mom. Old food, laying around, dirty carpet, clothes everywhere. It's just the kind of house that most people would not want to live in.
Well,
Hands on that. She needs a lot of change.
To Taishi, Gary looked good. He offered a life she wanted, but not really.
She wanted to do what she wanted to do. She liked to party.
She didn't really want to leave her friends and her druggy lifestyle behind.
Taishi leaves Gary holding the baby, while she plays around with an old high school sweetheart, 18-year-old Jacob Harris.
oh, she was 17.
That was what she really
Oh,
wanted.
but she had a kid already.
She was
So 18,
more committed
19,
to
20.
hanging out with her gang friends and her drug friends. Jacob Harris was one of them, her boyfriend. And that's what led to the animosity between her and Gary.
Just a year into the marriage, Gary has had enough.
They didn't have kids.
Taishi and her husband decided to divorce.
Gary plans to move back home to California.
Maybe it's best if you don't come back.
Tell what?
I think to Taishi, Gary represented a meal
They
ticket.
did have
There's
a baby.
really no indication she ever even loved him.
Gary's not only leaving Taishi, he's leaving the army
What?
and losing all the benefits of being a soldier.
When he left the army, his health benefits went in.
She had
In addition to that, he would no longer have the $200,000 life insurance policy. And Taishi decided, well, it's time to get something from him before he goes.
I'd be better off not a widow.
When Taishi figured this all out, I think she set a date for his murder.
Killeen, Texas, 1998. 18 months after their wedding, 22-year-old husband Gary and his 19-year-old wife Taishi Prokop plan their divorce.
How old is he?
Sounds fair.
And the future of their baby daughter.
They had sat down and written a custody agreement, and it appeared that Gary had every intention of being a good father. He wanted custody on certain holidays, and this agreement laid out exactly when he would get her and when Taishi would get her, what financial arrangements they would have, and what Gary would pay for.
There's only one arrangement Taishi doesn't like.
Gary was planning on leaving the service. That would have meant an end to his regular Army paycheck, as well as that $200,000 life insurance policy.
She isn't interested in being a divorcee. Taishi wants to be a widow.
She wanted that money. She saw that as an opportunity for her to do other things.
Right.
With her lover, 20-year-old Jacob Harris, and 2 willing friends, Taishi plans Gary's demise.
What shocks me is how easy it was for her boyfriend Jacob to find people to help him do it. It's just abhorrent.
20-year-old Charles Chucky Turnbull will be the gunman. 19-year-old Rodney Barfield, the getaway driver.
I'll be out of town.
Jacob gives himself the perfect alibi.
He left and went to Missouri. How can I be involved in a crime? I'm in Missouri. I'm out of state.
In the early hours of June 25th, 1998, Taishi seals Gary's fate.
Around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, Taishi got up, went to the front door and unlocked it. Chucky came into the house.
Taishi retreats to the bathroom, leaving her sleeping husband an easy target.
Chucky fired an assault rifle one time, right into Gary's head, and ended his life just like that. The murder of Gary Prokop was mercifully quick and painless. He was shot in the head while he was sleeping and never knew what happened.
To complete the plan, Taishi needs to play a shocked bystander.
The story she relayed was that she was in the bathroom. She didn't see or hear anybody. She just heard a gunshot. She was scared. She fled the house. She just ran straight to her neighbors and called 911.
Send the police! Someone shot my husband!
But Taishi is a bad actor.
Someone shot my husband! Send help!
Choose a suspect right away.
Someone shot my husband! Send help!
It sounded in the 911
target.
call
Okay,
as if she was trying to force
her.
herself to cry, or to sound like she was crying. But officers on the scene said that she wasn't crying at all, that they never saw tears.
There's another red flag for investigators.
She forgot to bring her baby with her. What kind of mother would leave their baby in danger? Taishi did, because she knew her baby was not in danger.
But despite their suspicions, the police lack direct evidence, and for 3 years, Taishi gets away with murder.
Everybody thought that her story probably was not legitimate, but they had nothing to go on.
Then Sergeant Patrick Turk gets a break in the case, thanks to a police informant.
One of my sources came to me at one point and said that he had information about this Prokop murder that had occurred in 1998, and he wanted to talk to me about it.
The informant leads police to the getaway driver, Rodney Barfield.
Time's out here. Chucky was the shooter.
Filled with
You had to
remorse,
tell. I just have to tell you this.
Over the course of about 5 hours, he confessed his full involvement in the crime. He cried as he confessed.
You got the gun?
Yeah.
He detailed all the roles of all the individual players in the crime.
Conspirators you have any plan. Eventually, someone's gonna crack.
Even the driver. I mean, like, was he in trouble?
their house of cards collapses,
No.
facing the death
They probably
penalty.
didn't even know about
Taishi
him.
accepts a plea.
The evidence was pretty compelling, but she never admitted her involvement in the crime, other than to accept a guilty plea.
All the co-defendants are convicted. Charles Turnbull of capital murder. Jacob Harris and Rodney Barfield of conspiracy to commit
No barking.
capital
No
murder.
barking.
He obviously had remorse about the crime, and yet he got sucked up into helping out with it And he's going to be spending most of his life in prison. In 2003, Taishi Prokop pleads guilty to capital murder and is sentenced to life in prison. She is eligible for parole in 2032.
Taishi is exactly where she belongs, and I hope she stays there for the rest of her life.
A young man's bright future is cut short.
Just the senseless death of a soldier unrelated to combat. He was a good dad. He was a good soldier. He was loved by his family.
What's your name? Because he married the wrong woman.
Taishi had little education and no career at the time she killed her husband. But a lot of women fall into that category, and they don't get featured on Deadly Women.
These deadly women betrayed the most intimate trust. Gail Owens contracted out her husband's murder. Kim Kano took the law into her own hands. And Taishi Prokop's greed cost a young soldier his life. All three women killed those they vowed to love. For these brides, wedded bliss was to have and to kill.